One of the best parts of this podcast, in my humble opinion, as somebody who is hosting it, is the fact that you and I have such different perspectives. And many times you have interviewed me and I have interviewed you. You interviewed me earlier this week. Today, I'm going to try to peel back the curtain on what makes Alan Lazaros. Come along for the ride, will you?
When you do, please understand that I hope this gets you to think differently so that you can have a bigger, better, brighter future. That is the purpose. And Kevin and I have two different sides of the same coin, and I think there's tremendous value in that.
Next Level Nation, today, for episode number 2062. Going upon what we did recently, I'm going to interview Alan. And the reason there's no title yet is because we don't even know what we're going to talk about. So we're really very much freestyling this.
Remember the first time you ever interviewed me?
I do.
And
Welcome
you opened with,
to the mother effing. I'm not going to say it because I'm not in a very sweary mood for some reason. I went all the way back to your first ever Instagram post today. The first ever Instagram post that you had was of your girlfriend at the time, so I was like, oh, I can't really use that. The second one, please hold on. Let me open up my photos here because I screenshotted it, I believe. No, I didn't. I'm an idiot. Your Instagram has essentially been self-improvement and personal development since you started.
Yeah.
In 2015 or 2016. I think it was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
This is my question to get us started. Because a lot of people have asked me this, and it's like, that's a really good place to start. What is on your heart for you, probably / mind, that you haven't got the opportunity to talk about recently that you would like to?
That frustration's a good thing. Well, I kind of have been talking about that, so I wouldn't say I haven't been able to. I think frustration's a really good thing because we talked about this earlier. Frustration is a byproduct of an obstacle up against a goal. It's the byproduct of not making progress. Anyone out there watching or listening, what is your relationship with frustration? What's your relationship with, I went for a run earlier and I was listening to something, I forget what it was, something motivational. And they said, don't let pain get in the way of your goals. And I thought to myself, is there anyone out there who doesn't have a goal that's going to require some pain? Because during the run, I was trying to hit a certain time for my mile because we're going to do a 5K later this summer. And I'm trying to be the most athletic version of myself. So that's my goal. Pain is a necessary part of that. So I think people's relationship with frustration is not positive. And I think that most innovation or most positive change is a byproduct of owning and accepting frustration. And sharing it.
Why do you think it's not positive? The relationship with it.
Socially. You and I have talked about this a lot. It's so interesting you interviewing me. Been going on other shows lately, and this is different because it's Kevin.
I know you.
Yeah, and we've talked about all this.
Well, my goal is to get to a place we haven't talked about.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's fair.
2064 episodes. There's the real world, which is who you are and what you are when no one's watching. It's your real bank account. It's your real car. It's your real clothing. It's your real closet. It's your real basement. It's your real relationship. And then the social world is when you're at a barbecue or you're at a family dinner or you are taking your mother out for Mother's Day. You're at a restaurant. That's the social world. And it's not okay to be frustrated in the social world typically. But I think behind the scenes, you can be frustrated. And as long as you handle that in a constructive way that's not toxic and not hurting other people, we call it emoting. Emilia calls it emoting. And then you and I started calling it emoting.
You started calling it emoting, sir.
Yeah.
I have not emoted.
You're not an emoter. When you look up emoting, it's essentially just expressing emotions verbally, which I think leads to brainstorming. And I think brainstorming leads to positive change.
Okay, what would your thesis be if somebody behind the scenes has a negative relationship with frustration? Like not even social, not this is behind the scenes, no social life.
Wait, ask that again?
You said one of the reasons people have a negative association or relationship with frustration is because of relationships and the social world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about behind the scenes when they're on their own? What if they have a negative relationship? What do you think that is? I have a thesis.
Lack of belief that they can do anything about it. Yeah, it's a lack of belief that they can do anything about it. My relationship with frustration is negative because of social. I got frustrated before the gym not last week, 2 or 3 days ago. And Emilia and I, we had a certain amount of time to go to the gym before my first session. And then we had to do 30 minutes instead of 45 minutes. And then we had to walk later because we do 45 minutes a day. And it was my fault because I was emoting. I was frustrated about something. And later that night, I said, "Are we good? Is everything okay? I know that was pretty intense." And she said, "Oh, 100%. We're great. Like, you have nothing to worry about." Because her and I use a metaphor of, did I cut any strings? We like the metaphor of the rope. If you do cut strings in your relationship, that's very bad. But if you do cut strings, make sure you tie them back together. Make sure you fix it. Make sure you apologize. Make sure you come back together. And a rope, again, I don't know this exactly because I'm not a rope specialist, but essentially with rope, you intertwine it stronger, it comes back stronger. That's a good metaphor, I think, for relationships. So don't cut strings and do dumb shit in your relationship. And if you do, make sure you own it and tie them back together stronger. And so that's what I was trying to do.
100%. Sorry, did I interrupt?
No, all good.
I'm going to be all over the place.
That's okay.
Again, normally...
If I'm stressed, it's not you. It's how do I get my brain out?
Yeah, I'm going to ask, at some point, I'm going to ask you a question that's going to stress you because it's going to be really hard to get it out, but we're going to figure it out. Usually, I talk about pulling the string, ask a question, get the answer, dissect the answer. I already know most of the answers, and I think the audience probably knows many of the answers because we've pulled the string very often. What would you say your current... What category are you evolving in right now? We've had business evolution, self-worth evolution, like all of that stuff, leadership evolution. What season of evolution are you in right now?
Transformational leadership. There's a movie called Mufasa that we're now watching in Movie Club. Evolve Movie Club. Emilia it's every month. It's the first Monday of every month, I think. And I haven't missed one yet. I promised her I wouldn't, although I have been late to several of them. But I always make it, and Mufasa is the prequel to The Lion King. And in that movie, Mufasa's character is essentially a nobody, quote unquote. Not from a famous bloodline, not from a royal bloodline. And he's a stray, and doesn't have a family. It's a good metaphor. And he's just unbelievably capable. And he's taught by, so usually the male lions are taught by the other male lions or whatever in this world. And he's taught by the mothers. So he has skills that other male lions don't have because he was a peon who had to hunt with the female lions or whatever. And it was a really powerful movie for me because I was raised by two women. Never had a dad. Birth father died at 2. Stepfather left at 14. Never really resonated with my stepfather. And I think that I have things that other men don't, but I don't fully understand them. And Mufasa keeps giving away credit all the time to his brother, who's the future king or whatever. And then there's a female in the movie, I don't want to give this away, but I kind of need to provide context, that knows it's actually you. You're giving credit away to everyone else, but it's actually you. And Emilia and I, there's a song called Tell Me It's You that we're going to do a duet on. And it's just a really powerful thing. So
wait, what do you mean you're going to do a duet? You're going to sing it together?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
When?
At our wedding.
Oh, man. Well, I'm excited for that. That's going to be awesome. If I'm invited to this wedding, I'll say it.
Yeah. Well, and again, even that's outside my comfort zone. And here's why. Because, well, you're not engaged yet. Well, just because we're not engaged doesn't mean we didn't talk about it. We already mapped all this out.
Well, I mean,
a lot of people think that's really weird.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what's worse? Saying you're going to get married and then getting married, or saying you're going to get married and then getting divorced? Like, look, most people do not have the ground to stand on to say, hey, man, how dare you talk about, like, you said you were going to get married too and you got divorced. How dare you?
Well, I want everyone to know, listen, I'm not just presupposing this. I've talked to Emilia about our roadmap and all that stuff. But to answer your original question, transformational leadership is courage and having the willingness and the courage to own all of who you are for whatever that is. And that's definitely been really hard for me, especially with Business Growth University. I'm in this collared shirt. I'm leaning back into my achiever. I feel like you and I kind of lost ourselves for a little while there. I definitely lost myself. Same. And I feel like this is the 36-year-old version headed into sort of this next chapter of being all of me at once. Instead of just being fun or just being smart or just being athletic. Because I went through all these phases, right? So I had my childhood phase, then I had my fun phase, where I was just fun, hosted all the parties. Then I had my academic phase, and I did the traditional path of preschool, kindergarten, middle school, high school, college, corporate. And then I had my success phase, which was just so much money I made, paid off 84 grand worth of debt in a single year, all this money in a Vanguard account investment phase. And then I got my car accident, and then I had my personal development phase, and now it's all of it at once as a business man.
How do you know it'll be worth it?
The transformational leader part?
You being all of you at once for maybe the first time.
It feels like it's not even a choice. It feels like, in some ways, it feels like everyone will suffer if I don't. Even if they don't know it. Particularly, so right? So Emilia and I have talked about starting a family, having children, all that stuff, and it feels a lot like I have to do this, even though I don't want to.
How would somebody else know? So that's something I don't have. Like you and I have talked about that many times. Like I don't roll out of bed in the morning and maybe more than the average person.
Definitely. More than I think you think, but yeah.
Maybe. I just get up because the alarm goes off and I have to go to the gym. Like that's the conversation I have.
To do anything, but
I do. I have to, but I know. How does somebody else know what level of calling they have?
I think everyone has, this is my thesis again. I've been contemplating this my entire adult life, probably my whole life, to be honest. We had a moment on Movie Club where there's a there's a movie called Brave, and there's something called Wisps. And Wisps in that movie, have you seen Brave? I don't think you've seen Brave.
No.
Okay, no stress. It's a good movie, but wisps are these sort of things in the forest that guide you in the movie. And I think it's a metaphor for whispers. And you and I used to talk about how the whisper will eventually become a scream. So if you neglect your goals or neglect your relationship or neglect your health long enough, the whisper will eventually become a scream, right? I think the whispers are our highest self saying, you can do more than this. You're capable of more than this. And I have a quote that I always say, which is the people who are grinding and growing toward their dreams and goals, even though it's atrociously hard, are always going to be the envy of the people sitting around doing nothing. And the reason I believe that, even though it does seem like most people romanticize having free time, and you can only sip margaritas on the beach for so long before you feel purposeless. And I had phases in my life where I partied and I said, fuck it. And I just had aimlessness for a short time. And for me, that wasn't for me. And my highest self was saying, hey, this is not you. And I think all of us have that to some extent. I think it's probably stronger for some. And this is one last piece too. Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. When you have your physical health taken care of, when you have your mental health taken care of, when you have your emotional health taken care of, I think you can feel and hear the whispers more. And the whispers in this metaphor is spiritual. And I don't want to overly do woo-woo because I'm a very practical engineer, but I do think we all have a calling. And I think a lot of us have so much mud in our glass that we can't hear it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to sit with you in this discomfort that I'm about to cause. Okay?
I'm already a little red, but sure.
What is it like to feel like you don't have a choice to accomplish whatever it is? Very rarely, I don't know, I've said this to you many times, I've never met someone like you. I've said that to you many times behind the scenes. Very, very rarely in front of the scenes. Reasons for that. I want you all to think I did this. Just so you know. No. I did for a long time,
Funny,
honestly.
man.
I did for a long time. What is that like?
I also wanted everyone to think that.
I
too.
know. It worked out. It was a match made in heaven.
Yeah. It was.
When I looked at your Instagram, it was weird. I've never gone all the way back to the beginning of your Instagram ever. And today it was like, I'm going to do that. And then we'll see what happens, and maybe I'll get some context. You've only ever really posted self-improvement, personal development stuff. And it is abundantly clear that in 2016 or 2015, you were decades ahead of me. For sure. And it's weird how many of the fundamentals you shared back then, you still talk about to this day. One you stopped is if you could rub a lamp and a genie came out and you could be the best at 3 things in the world, what would it be? You haven't said that in a long time.
Yeah, because I realize no one gives a shit.
That's fair. Yeah, it's what 3 things would you want?
I still believe in that. 10 out of 10.
What is it like? What is it like to be somebody who doesn't have a choice, and what don't you have a choice from?
What is it like to feel like you don't have a choice?
If you had to explain it to me.
You just can't feel good about yourself unless you stay on the path.
Okay.
You don't get to be fulfilled. It's Alan, you have a choice. You can either be in alignment with your highest self and reach your true potential, or be wildly miserable. Obviously there's a lot in between. It's zero. It's not a 0 and 1. It's 0 to 10. So it's a spectrum. But when I asked you recently, how fulfilled are you? You said a 9. So that to me tells me you're on the path, whatever your path is. I believe fulfillment is a byproduct of being on your path to your highest self, your growth journey, the uniqueness that is Kevin. I almost just called you Evan. Jesus. But
Dave.
The uniqueness that is Evan, the fulfillment and regret thing that I used to teach in group coaching before I realized no one cares. I'm joking. Regret, I think, is your highest self saying, you need to not do that again. Or you need to do that thing that you knew you should have done that you didn't do. I think regret is the whisper. Every one of us has regrets. Everyone. Very few people admit it. And even fewer admit it publicly. That has got to be the base issue of why a lot of people are lost. We aren't honest with each other about how much regret we have. I've had mentors say, dude, if you have regrets now, you're screwed. Listen, you were getting blackout drunk. This is to a past mentor. I was like, dude, you were getting blackout drunk, getting in fights every other week for your entire 20s. You don't regret any of that? I think you're full of shit. Of course you regret that. Your brain is a mess now. But you just won't admit it. And your wife is upset that you also don't take care of yourself. And also, when he was telling me all this, he was wine drunk. It's like, dude, good for you. You want to try to coach me right now? I don't want to be you. I'm not impressed with you. You're a fucking mess. And I'm not going to be, because I'm going to own the fact that I have regrets. And I'm going to make changes. I'm not trying to berate myself to be mean to myself. And I think a lot of people think that I'm shaming myself. And I do think there is maybe a tiny, tiny tinge of that. Okay? Tiny bit. But most of it, I actually think is like, hey, come on. You're better than this. And you knew that was a bad idea. Who here, again, anyone listening, think of a really dumb fucking thing you did. Okay, I've got one. And afterwards, I was like, Alan, you fucking idiot. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but you knew this was dumb. And then Kevin was like, dude, that was dumb. I know. Right? He's like, obviously she was trying to sleep with you. I'm like, I thought she just wanted to go to the movies. And again, this is just a funny past thing. This is long before Emilia, by the way. But at the end of the day, I regretted that.
Yeah.
That was short-term pleasure at the expense of long-term potential.
What is it like to not be able to turn it off? I get to turn it off. I do. Right? It never turns off.
Well, I don't think you can ever fully turn it off. So we have a flip-on fireplace, and I can't pretend to know how this thing works. Let's be real. It's got a knob on it. But the pilot light, is that what it's called? Okay, that thing's always on. It's on right now. And we have carbon monoxide sensors to make sure that everything's good. And they chirp at you if things are not good, which is very important. But when I flip the switch, the fire goes. It's great. It's like immediate fire. It's great. Huge fan. Something about having a fire at night it's so sweet. But I think yours is always on too. It's just it doesn't burn as intensely. And I think everyone's is on all the time. I think it's, if you have mud in your glass, maybe it's not as, and I don't think everyone has the same size fire. I need to make that clear. Some of us have a bonfire. Some of us have a fucking huge, just burning like the sun. And I'll share this too. I really was scared. I'm not even kidding. When I went to therapy, I was so concerned that I would lose my drive. I actually told Emilia, if I lose my X factor, if I lose my drive, I don't want to go to therapy. It's my favorite part of me. It's not anyone else's favorite part of me, but it's hers. She loves it, but it's my favorite part of me. My favorite part of me is no one will ever put in more effort than me, ever, in anything, no matter what it is. Hello, NLU listener. Thank you, as always, for listening to Next Level University. Real quick, I just want to jump in and let you know about the Next Level Dreamliner. This is a journal that I use every single day. Achieve your dreams 90 days at a time. It breaks down your dreams into goals, milestones, and daily habits. We hope you enjoy it. The link will be in the show notes. So I think we all have a fire lit. I think we don't know how to flip the switch. And I think that all of us have a different size fire. I thought my fire was going to get smaller. I thought it was going to get smothered. I thought once I healed all the trauma from my past and I accepted myself for all of who I am, and I thought I was going to lose my drive. And I told my therapist this, Carol, I said, I thought it was going to go away. It got fucking way bigger.
Why? Why do you think it did?
Because I guess it was always who I was. Because I actually used to believe so there's a quote that, one of my favorite books for the last decade has been The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That's the book that I used to say, favorite book of all time. As I've grown, I had to change it to Rationality because I think that's what people need more. But The Compound Effect is still in my top 5. It's right behind me. Shout out to you, David, if different David than you're thinking of, Kev. But one of my clients just listened. He's like, this is the best book. Damn right. It's awesome. Now, I don't necessarily think Darren is why it's so good. I think Darren's fine, but it's the concept that I think is so powerful. Okay, why am I saying all that? What were we talking about before this?
Why do you think the fire burned brighter after therapy? That was the question.
Yeah, and it's my answer was because I guess it's all of who I already was.
Yeah.
Why was I talking about books?
That I don't know. That I can't claim to know.
It'll come back.
This would be terrible if I was a real host of a real podcast and you forgot what your this would be terrible.
This has happened. This has happened to me. Has this not happened to you?
No, this never happens to me.
Oh, well, you're obviously
I'm the man,
the best interviewer.
Yeah. No, what happens is I just start a sentence. It's like, oh shit. Yes, finally, it's come to me. Sometimes it's on the last word though.
The compound effect. Why was I talking about that?
Talking about books. You were talking about rationality. We were talking about the fire burning brighter. Kind of coming home.
What was the question again?
Why do you think? So you thought going to therapy would make the fire smaller?
Oh, I got it. Nice. I found it. Nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Darren Hardy was a speaker I used to listen to all the time and an author that I love. He used to have this quote that he would always say. Your adversity, people think their adversity is why they're not successful. And I really liked this quote 10 years ago. He said, your adversity is not something you have to go heal from. It's something that you can use to go do extraordinary things that ordinary people cannot do. He said, your adversity is actually your advantage because it gave you the emotional and mental muscles to go do extraordinary things. And I used to think that. I used to think, oh, that's why I'm so driven. Because my painful childhood. Nope. Fucking not the reason. Because, and maybe it's part of the reason, right? Grit or whatever, but I guess that's just who I always was, which is just really surprising to me because my whole life I've always wondered why. And you're not really supposed to say this, but I'm just going to share this, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but I have spent my entire life trying to figure out why I was so different. Like you said, it's so obvious that I was so different. However many years ago I started Instagram. I think probably 10 years ago. And I've been trying to figure out the same thing. Because why do I work so hard? I don't think I'm that. There was someone on a podcast recently who literally said, you are the hardest working person ever. Like, you are unbelievably hardworking. And he's like, what's it like to be so hardworking? And I said, I know this is probably going to sound really silly, but I actually think I'm hardworking because I don't think I'm hardworking. Let me rephrase that. I don't wake up in the morning and go, Alan, you're so hardworking. No way. I think I'm lazy as fuck.
What about at the end of the day? Same thing?
Yeah. It's not, well, let me hold the duality for a second. I do realize intellectually that I'm of a harder working person than most. I do realize that. But that's not how I feel. So today, dude, I have so many things I was supposed to get done that I'm not going to get to. So I don't go to bed like I crushed it today, ever. But isn't that the duality of why? One of the things that I've found, it's like someone saying, I'm so humble. Well, you're obviously not. Oh, I'm so hardworking. That's what I've found. Brother, the people who think they're hardworking aren't.
It's fair.
The people who think they're not are actually really hardworking.
That's the same with like self-awareness. It's like, oh yeah, I'm so self-aware.
I'm super fucking self-aware.
I think we are. So maybe we buck that. I don't know. Maybe I'm also, there's people laughing at me right now. I don't know.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. But did it answer your question?
Definitely not.
It's always been, apparently that's always been a part of me. Drive.
Is there any part of you, has there ever been a part of you that wishes you didn't have to do it?
For sure. When I was drinking a lot back in the day and I was partying and it was escapism for a short time. I mean, it never really went out. So for me, alcohol turned it down. When I drink, it turns it down. The pilot light never goes out, but it's a good metaphor would be, imagine your fire is on a dimmer and you can turn it up and down. Alcohol for me would dial it way down. And my social life was always better when I was dialed down. Because nobody wants to play Halo with someone who's trying to be the best on the planet.
Unless
you're one of the best. Exactly.
Yeah, unless they're trying to too.
Yeah. But they don't like it when, I mean, I remember playing, and again, this will be a silly little thing, but I remember I used to play with Mark and Kiki back in the day. And these are kids I grew up with, neighbors. And I would just, I'm talking, they wouldn't get a kill. That's not fun for them. It would be like 50-4. It would be 2-on-1. And they would barely ever kill me. And they were just not good at the game. So I remember one time a mutual friend of ours, he bet me that he could kill me once in Halo 1. It's a famous Xbox game. And this was when we were little kids. And he bet me $50. My mom tells this story. She told it to Emilia's family last time we were all together. And she said, yeah, this random lady showed up with her kid. They went into the bedroom and played Halo and then came out. They took $50 out of their wallet, gave it to Alan, and left. And my mom said I had the biggest smile on my face.
I believe it.
Because I was like, there's no chance, dude.
Was this person someone I know?
Yes. 100%.
That's awesome.
Begins with an A.
I'll have to sit on it to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was back in the day. I think I was probably 13 or something. Maybe 14.
I remember this. I don't know if I ever played with you. There was a place in Mendon.
Oh yeah.
Airport Video. Yeah, they just had like
I won a bunch of tournaments.
I went there like one time. I think I got invited to a birthday party. It's like, I don't belong
that place
here.
Was awesome, man. This is before Xbox Live. This is before a lot of it. Yeah, before any of the online gaming. They put a 6-year-old girl on my team once, and I just had her hide in the bunker, and I still won the entire tournament.
They were trying to sandbag you?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, I have a very specific question. Ready? Okay. Many years ago, you told me a lot of things that are happening today. There's UFC. I haven't stopped watching UFC, nor will I ever, so don't fucking get excited. But I have stopped ordering UFCs that just aren't worth $80. And you kind of predicted that. You predicted a lot of, I would kind of fall out of love with a lot of the things that I loved. How did you know that was going to happen?
The things that you love are predicated on a certain level of consciousness. So one of the things I said to you years and years and years and years ago, probably 8 years ago. So one of my heroes was Tony Robbins at the time. And again, hero, I say loosely. He was someone that I always ask this question to everybody with their dreams. Who is the closest to your dream? I think it's good to look at something in the real life that was done, and then you can reverse engineer what they did, assuming you can actually figure out what they really did versus, what they show or talk about. So mine was Tony Robbins. He was having a very big impact at that time. And yours was Joe Rogan, who also has had a huge impact, for better or for worse. And you said, I want to go on Joe Rogan one day. And first of all, I said, by the time you can go on Joe Rogan, he's not going to be podcasting anymore because the dude's old, right? But what I also said to you, in the more meaningful part, rather than me just joking, is I said, by the time you are the type of man who would get invited to be on Joe Rogan, you actually won't want to go. And that actually happened.
Pretty early.
You didn't get invited.
Yeah, no, I didn't get invited.
You didn't get invited, but you already are there.
Joke's on him.
And I'm sure he's very upset that he can't have Kevin Palmieri on.
Same.
But ultimately, the reason I knew that would happen, to answer your original question, is it's just not it's not in alignment with your level of consciousness. Assuming you don't fake, lie, steal, cheat, and you actually are authentic and integrous, you can only achieve a certain thing based on a certain level of consciousness. And to break down consciousness real quick, it's your deeper understanding and distinctions. So you know how to build a podcast like this because you've done it. And by the time you know more, by the time you know enough and have the awareness and skills and mindset to achieve your dream, some of those dreams you won't even want anymore. It's just like me at one point I wanted to be a fitness model on a Literotica cover. Like, I don't want that shit anymore. That's just a naive, stupid, younger thing. But here's the paradox. My vision board, my very first vision board, it was all just on a whiteboard, written out goals. It was all numbers based. TED Talk, this 1 million views on a TED Talk, at least. 1 million plus. Okay, that's just one. Boom, boom, boom. I want to meet this person, meet this person, meet this person. The interesting thing about goals and dreams is that by the time you become the person who actually can achieve that dream, you actually don't want half of them anymore.
How many would you say that were on there that you no longer want?
At least a third. At least a third. I think I've achieved about a third. I think there's a third I still want, and I think there's a third where I would never... at this point, I would never do that. The Literotica one would be the one I would never do.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you think it would be the same breakdown if you did the same thing today? Would it still be a third, or would you be more accurate?
I think I'd be more accurate. I think it'd probably be a little bit of better percentages than that. I think it'd probably be 10% I don't want, 40% I end up achieving within a decade, and then the other 50% would be still in the works. One of the things that I think is an opportunity right now, because you've gone so deep on this, I always say this. There's a great Jim Rohn quote where he says, there's two things that I think matter most. One is intelligence, also known as consciousness. And the second one is momentum. If you have momentum, but you have low intelligence, you're going to drive off a cliff really fast. So to me, you have to be intelligent. You have to be making intelligent choices first based on accurate beliefs about yourself, others, and the world. And then momentum is what matters. Because momentum doesn't matter if you're heading in a terrible direction. Like if I'm heading in a bad direction back in my nihilistic days, my hopeless days. And again, I'm making it sound like I was there for a decade. It was only a short time, but it was definitely not good. And drugs, alcohol, just exploring and just saying, fuck it. Well, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to have fun. And I smoked cigarettes when I drank sometimes. I never bought a pack, but it was just stupid. Like, what a stupid time for me. Just exploring, dumb. I know a lot of people have that phase. You got to get it out of your system. Just don't make any permanent damage.
I only smoke when I drink. It's like, well, you're drinking 3 nights a week, so I think you're probably considered a...
I said that dumb shit.
Yeah.
I only smoke when I drink. Well, you are drinking 3 times a week.
You're an alcoholic, so it's like...
Well, I never bought a pack, though. Yeah, exactly. You're an alcoholic, so... Well, so intelligence, number 1, consciousness, and number 2 would be momentum. Because if you make good choices and you have accurate beliefs and you're in alignment with your highest self and you have momentum, I mean, what you can achieve is unbelievable.
Is there anything you wish I would have asked you when we were digging deep?
Not really, I don't think.
It's always a hard question.
Nothing jumps off.
Yeah, it's a hard question.
I feel like what'd you say?
Hard question to answer often.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was really good. Yeah. If there was something I had to add, it would be if I had to come up with a question that I would want you to ask, it would be, it would be about optimization. I had there's a guy I went on his podcast earlier. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not a huge fan. He was, you know him too, and he's not a bad dude by any means, but he's definitely not my cup of tea, and I do think he was insecure, and he threw a few daggers. I mean, he opened the episode with, just so those of you on camera, Alan does look 12. It's like, come on, man. Mm-hmm. Like, that's my joke. Right? I fucking say it. You don't say it. I'm kidding. But just not a huge fan. He was just kind of ribbing me a bit, and it was just, all right, here we go. But he said this, and this probably should have been my tell. Before we hit record, the guy goes, okay, so I saw that your thing was about optimization and such and such and such. Well, that sounds boring as shit. So, and I was like, okay, way to shit on my whole thing. So what I would hope, and he's also probably accurate in that my PC's about to die, so we're gonna have to go in a second. But what I would hope you ask me about is optimization. What is it and why does it matter?
There's a reason I didn't, because I wanted to go deep. That's why I didn't. I was thinking to myself, like, what would I want to ask Alan? If the audience didn't know you, that's what I would have asked you.
Oh, nice.
But since the audience knows you, it's like, no, I want them to know you more.
Okay.
We have 6 other episodes this week we can do on optimization. This is the one that we're not going to do it on.
Well, the only thing that I would say about that is if I ask, I think the most important question anyone can ask at a given moment, one of the most important questions, I don't know if I can say the most, what are you optimizing for? Like right now, I'm optimizing to be a transformational leader. And even if I never told anyone that is what I'm trying to get better at. That means I have to get better at sales. That means I have to get better at business. Everything else is underneath that. So most people, if you ask, what are you optimizing for? Well, dinner tonight. Well, that's not exactly going to create a magnificent life. Trust me, I want great dinner too. But what are you optimizing for in the future? Like, what are you optimizing for on the macro? What are you playing this game for? This game we call life. What are you uniquely optimizing for in the long run? Because there was a time in my life when I was optimizing for fun, and that brought a lot of nonsense that I don't think was very healthy for me. So I think that's a good question.
Cool. What's for dinner?
Dude, Emilia, so she got these sausage links. They're actually vegan sausage links with great stats. So they're not super tasty, but they're still sausage links. So let's go.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to have tater tots, obviously, tenders and chicken nuggets. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
Oh my goodness.
All air fryer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big kid dinner tonight.
No, not really. But
no,
yeah.
like big kid.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah, like just large child.
Finger food.
Yeah.
Finger food.
I love that.
Yeah.
How's the
Great
diet?
stats.
How's the diet been?
Exercise has been better than diet. I'm at about 200 and the macros are good. I'm eating really, really healthy but I mean, too many calories.
We, last thing before we go, quick story. We were in, oh my goodness, where were we? I think we were in Colorado. I'll never forget. We were taking a long left turn at a traffic light. We went to Colorado for an event. I made a joke to the person at the rental. I was like, "You got any Mercedes for us? Like, come on, upgrade us." Like, yeah, I got you. It's like, okay, that was cool. That worked. Awesome.
Yeah, that dude loved us.
Loved us. Oh, you guys podcasters? What is it all about? It's like, I really hope you listen, but I'm telling you, I'm like 0 for 70 on people asking me and then me telling them, like nobody ever does. But I remember saying, "Oh, you've been doing mobility lately?" And Alan's like, "Yeah, man, I've been doing mobility all the time." And I was like, why do you feel so tight? And it was something, and he was like, "Oh, mobility. No, I haven't been doing that shit at all." So that's why I asked. That's why I asked the diet.
What did I say? I've been foam rolling or something?
Yeah. I was like, no, like
you mean,
mobility.
like, real mobility.
Oh, mobility. No, I haven't been doing that shit at all.
Yeah, not at all.
All right. I know your laptop's going to die.
Yeah, man.
Next Level Nation, private Facebook group for like-minded humans who are into personal development, and book club every single Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You're reading Reset by Chip Heath? Dan Heath?
Yeah, Dan Heath.
Dan Heath. I get him confused. I'm sorry, Chip. All right. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.